Great, thank you, sir. Well, good evening, everyone. This is a conference meeting of the Council of the Township of Montclair and is being broadcast live on Channel 34 and is streaming live on the Montclair TV 34 YouTube channel. It is available on demand, can and will be rebroadcast. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councillor Cummings.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Herlock.
Present.
Councillor Price Abrams.
Here.
Councillor Russo.
Present.
Councillor Schlager.
Here.
Councillor Yacobelis.
Present.
Mayor Spiller.
Present. Thank you very much. Next, we have a number of proclamations. The first is a proclamation for Domestic Violence Month. And whereas ending violence in the home is a national imperative that requires vigilance and dedication from every sector of our society. We must stand alongside advocates, victim service providers, law enforcement, and our criminal justice system as they hold offenders accountable and provide care and support to survivors. And whereas, although we have seen changes in laws and improved support services for survivors, we must do more to provide protection and justice for survivors and to prevent violence from occurring. And whereas October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and each year Essex County Family Justice Center uses this opportunity to reach out to neighbors in the community. The Essex County Family Justice Center has been providing coordinated services to domestic violence victims throughout the county for 10 years and has proudly assisted over 8,000 survivors find safety and support to rebuild their lives with dignity and hope. The Township of Montclair wishes to join Essex County Family Justice Center's 2020 No More Violence campaign, which honors victims and survivors and mobilizes advocates to take a stand against abuse. And whereas during National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we stand with domestic abuse survivors, we celebrate our nation's progress in combating these despicable crimes and resolve to carry on until domestic violence is no more. Now, therefore, Mayor and Council of the Township of Montclair do hereby declare October 2020 as the Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urges the community to post a picture of a candle with the hashtags DVAM 2020, hashtag No More Violence, and hashtag Spread the Light. We join communities across the United States in supporting victims of domestic violence, sharing the worthy goals of this month-long observance, and supporting the work of public and private entities that strive to provide the best coordinated response to domestic violence. And I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Great, thank you very much. Next, we have a proclamation for Blindness Awareness Month. And if I could just ask my colleagues to mute their devices when not speaking, it'd be great. And Councilman Russo, would you mind reading that one?
Thank you, Mayor. It's important to me with a lot of vision and sight issues my mother and myself have had over the years, but it's Proclamation for Blindness Awareness Month, whereas blindness and profound vision loss affect more than 160,000 people in New Jersey. The number is expected to grow as the population ages, whereas the National Eye Institute projects the number of people with serious visual impairment or blindness in the U.S. will double to more than 8 million. Whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported that about 61 million adults in the U.S. are at high risk for serious vision loss. Whereas it is important to make residents of Montclair aware of the prevalence of vision impairment and the critical importance of vision rehabilitation services, counseling, training that can help people with vision loss adapt to their loss of sight. Whereas Vision Loss Alliance has locations in Morris, Essex, and Bergen County, and is the only comprehensive non-residential vision rehabilitation program for adults in New Jersey. And whereas Vision Loss of New Jersey, one of the state's longest-serving nonprofits for adults with vision loss, is working to expand services related to education, independence, and overall well-being. Now, therefore, by virtue of this proclamation, the Mayor and Council of the Township of Montclair do hereby proclaim October 2020 as Blindness Awareness Month in Montclair and congratulate Vision Loss Alliance of New Jersey on its 77 years of exemplary work to increase public awareness about eye disease and eye care and help us understand the challenges our vision impaired loved ones, friends, neighbors, and coworkers deal with on a daily basis. I so move.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, great. Thank you very much. Next, we have a proclamation for Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day. And Councilman Yacobelis, would you mind?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. This is a proclamation for Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Whereas pregnancy and infant loss is such a common occurrence, but one that is usually not discussed, and whereas many Montclair parents and families have suffered a miscarriage, stillbirth, or the death of an infant during delivery or shortly after birth, and whereas Montclair wishes to acknowledge the profound grief experienced by families who suffer the death of a baby or infant, and whereas increased awareness of the causes and impacts surrounding pregnancy and infant loss may lead to greater understanding, support, and resources in Montclair. And whereas a day of remembrance honors the lives of children taken far too soon and supports grieving parents, grandparents, siblings, and other family members whose lives are forever altered by the heartbreaking of losing a child. And whereas promoting awareness of the challenges faced by those parents and families is a positive means of establishing support and understanding. And whereas in 1988, President Reagan proclaimed October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And whereas recognizing Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day would enable the people of Montclair to consider how, as individuals and communities, they can meet the needs of bereaved mothers, fathers, and family members, and work to prevent the causes of these deaths. And whereas the 15th day of October is recognized in parts of the United States and many other jurisdictions around the world as a day of remembrance and awareness of pregnancy and infant loss. Now, therefore, the mayor and council of the Township Montclair do hereby proclaim the 15th day of October to be Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day and urge our citizens and all agencies and organizations to unite on that day in remembrance of all babies gone too soon, in support of all families grieving the death of their baby at any time during pregnancy or infancy, and in dedication to healthy pregnancy and the prevention of these tragedies. I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And thank you very much. And while not an official proclamation that we have here at this time, I know I've seen so many statements from my council colleagues, so many in the community. We all know we lost someone, Judy Weston, who has just been such a supporter of education and so many other things here in town. I am sure, as is appropriate, we will have a proclamation. And Councilwoman Schlager, I know with your work on MFEE, if you can help shepherd that and get that in place, we'd all be appreciative. I know you would be a great steward for that. I just wanted to take a moment maybe to share some of the words that I shared with regard to her passing. And certainly if any of my colleagues would like to say anything, I'll open it up. But this is what I had shared. Judy Weston lived a life full of caring for others and offering support where needed. While she will rightfully be remembered for the many wonderful things she did and the character of who she was, as an educator myself, I want to acknowledge and thank her for the many ways she honored and supported students and teachers, staff and administrators, and education as a whole. From her focus on STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math education, to her commitment to lifelong learning at the earliest stages all through adulthood, Judy Weston made and continues to make a difference in the lives of generations of student learners. We all owe her a debt of gratitude, for which she would likely only ask that we pay it forward, helping where we can to make a positive difference in the lives of others. Judy Weston, you will be missed. And I'll, of course, open it to any of my colleagues who would like to say anything. And of course, at the right time, we will prepare a proclamation as appropriate.
Sean, Mayor, I would just like to say I knew Judy for so many years when I served as mayor and council, and as an educator like yourself. They were so helpful. And Josh is still here with us to do great work. The Weston awards to teachers, what they did for students. With just such a focus on education, I felt it was important to say thank you to Josh, and remember Judy, and let's all remember the Weston's great work here in Montclair. Thank you, Sean. Thanks, Mayor.
Absolutely. Okay. Next, I will open it up to public comment. In an effort to minimize exposure to COVID-19 and to maintain social distancing practice, this Township Council meeting and further meetings until the pandemic is over will be available to the public remotely. Those who wish to participate now during public comment should dial in to 408-418-9388. When asked to enter an access code, please enter 173-911-5984 and then press pound. When asked to enter an attendee number, please just press pound. When asked, please state your name and then press pound. The administrator will say when it is the caller's turn to speak, and the caller will then hear 2 beeps. At that time, the caller will have an opportunity to make his or her comments. And of course, as always, please keep your comments to the allotted time. Mr. Stafford and Mr. Finn, I will turn it over to you for public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. The first caller this evening has a number starting with 973-619. Caller with the number starting 973-619. It is now your turn to comment. Please state your name for the record and keep your comments to 3 minutes. I will alert you when the 3 minutes have expired. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Ahava Felicidad. I am the president of the Tenants Organization of Montclair Advocacy Group. Good evening, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. I'm calling in tonight just to be supportive and on the call of what we call TOOM at the council, hoping there'll be some other members and leadership on the call as well for public comments. First, I'd like to comment on the American Council for the Blind with regards to the proclamation for anyone out there listening who's not aware of this site as a resource, acb.org. That is the American Council for the Blind. They have a lot of resources for low vision, loss of vision, other organizations that you can be led to help with vision issues. And I read Helen Keller with great intrigue as an elementary schooler here in Montclair at Northeast Elementary School. So that proclamation does, hit home and home here in Montclair. And anyone else, again, out there is listening, it's acb.org. Now, the other reason for being on the call is to make sure that anyone out there listening knows how to reach the Tenants Organization of Montclair Advocacy Group about rent control. Get updates if you have not been updated, want to know where things are, how things are going. If you're not able to be on a call, you need to let someone else know. You can send us email at tenantsorganizationmontclair@gmail.com. That's the best way to reach us, is to send an email. And in that email, you want to include your phone number. And if you're a tenant, it's good if you include your address for when we message you back for a discovery call, so we can find out what your needs are and also help you. And we are always collecting, accepting and welcoming in new members. That will be tenants and homeowners. We do have a homeowner committee in addition to having tenant members. And you can write in letters of support, statements of support, pictures and video as well for the coalition site, which is montclairrentcontrol.org. But you do want to send us an email. We want to hear from you. We want to be able to help you, guide you to resources that you need with regards to renting in Montclair. Again, updates on where we are with the rent control ordinance that was approved on April
3 minutes.
7th of 2020. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next caller has a number starting 973-424. Caller with the number starting 973-424. Please state your name and keep your comments to 3 minutes. I will advise when the 3 minutes is up.
Good evening. My name is Deirdre Malloy. Good evening, Mayor Spiller, council and staff. I am the co-chair of the Montclair Housing Commission, chairwoman of the Montclair Landlord Tenant Housing Advisory Committee, member NAACP Housing Committee. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Lee first and foremost on her retirement. It has been a pleasure working with her as she has continued the wonderful standard that Linda has set. It's been a professional, friendly, and accessible and very knowledgeable relationship, and it's hoped that her successor will continue that standard so many of us have come to enjoy and expect. I am in complete support of the council's decision to pass a rent control ordinance. I support the efforts of the Tenants Organization of Montclair, a differently purposed group from the decades-old Montclair Landlord Tenant Housing Advisory Committee. Our email for any complaint is landlordtenantcommittee@gmail.com. The elected officials and other experts did engage the public and property owners, some of whom attended public meetings. At no time did any property owner request, join, or willingly engage in a substantive dialogue or attend the broadly advertised Housing Commission meetings where initial conversations began. Rent control as a need has been a verifiable public topic of discussion in Montclair for decades, which the property owners confirm in their own public statement. While New Jersey has a thorough state tenant protections and property inspections program, the state of New Jersey entity that monitors multi-units has identified state and municipal gaps in enforcement, many of which I have identified publicly over the years. This includes local municipal gaps of enforcement that some property owners are overlooking intentionally. The Buildings Department does an excellent job, many of whom I've worked with. There are still opportunities to improve upon. Notwithstanding the fact that a good portion of the many property owners are not in compliance with these state and municipal requirements, which I have confirmed. Rent control is a consumer protection legislation, and to connect conditions and habitability is not redundant. This protection only solidifies the intelligence of the scope it is intended for. More than 100 municipalities, including our bordering neighbors, has rent control. The communities are beautiful and prospering. It is not unconstitutional. It is fair and equitable. What is unconstitutional is the supposition that hardworking, decent families do not have a right to sustainability in quality housing. Landlords have a right to prosperous investment in their real estate. I'm hopeful there's intelligence around managing their real estate financial portfolio without displacing families who pay rent on time every single month. Governing conditions of the ordinance do not result in decreased quality of housing.
3 minutes.
Reasonable rent stabilization measures effectively managed will not decrease your property value nor increase your property taxes. In closing, a special assessment in town has more of an impact on tax increases than a rent increase measurement tool. The property owners stated that they are for what is fair. That fairness should include ensuring working families are not displaced for lack of affordability. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Caller with the number beginning 973820. It is your turn to comment. 973820. Please state your name for the record and keep your comments to 3 minutes. I will advise you when the 3 minutes are up.
Good evening. This is Tony Martin. I'm with the Tenants Organization and also the Montclair Citizens for Rent Control. At the last meeting, I did note that a property owner called in. I believe the person was actually a realtor, and she seemed she was asking questions about the rent control ordinance and what it would entail. And I wished that I could have said then, and so I will say now. We really have a lot of information about the implications of rent control. We have information about why and how our rent control ordinance that you adopted is structured. It's available at montclairrentcontrol.org. This is research and and the wide breadth of opinion, really, that we've gathered so that people who seriously want to study this issue can be helped. I have a question about, I know that the Montclair Property Owners Association has submitted a signature, all of their signatures for a petition to overturn the ordinance. And I wondered where the town stands with that. I know you're in the process of verifying the signatures. Can anyone comment on how that's going and what the deadline is going forward? Thank you so much.
Thank you for the call, and we'll certainly be able to update you on the timelines as to where those pieces are. Mr. Stafford or Mr. Karasik, would you please give us an update on that?
I'll do this, right? A petition, or actually 1,500 petitions, since each page is a separate petition. So it's 1,500 plus petitions were submitted on September 24th. The clerk has been processing those petitions and has not reached a conclusion as to whether it's sufficient or not. Tomorrow is the last day, and I'm sure the clerk will meet that deadline. So right now, that's really all I have to say is that they're being processed.
Thank you.
Mayor, there are no other callers in the queue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stafford, and thank you to all of our public commenters. With that, I will close public comment. Next, we have a number of new business items, new business resolutions. The first is Resolution R20-158, which is a resolution authorizing the CARES Act reimbursement agreement with the County of Essex. And certainly we are pleased to see the $558,000+ coming back, and I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Mr. Stafford, would you like to offer any brief comments on this before?
I'd be happy to. As you know, the United States Congress enacted the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, known colloquially as the CARES Act, to provide relief for economic damage caused by the COVID-19 crisis to states, counties, and municipalities. The County of Essex received CARES Act funding from the federal government to be used to reimburse the county and the municipalities such as our township for such economic damage. In May, the county issued to municipalities a memorandum of understanding for reimbursement relative to its first round of CARES Act funding, and further to Resolution R-20-092, the township returned the signed MOU, making it eligible to receive first round funding. Very recently, the county has made available to municipalities a second round, as the mayor mentioned, of CARES Act funding, and a similar MOU signed by the township is required again to process and receive this second round of funding. Item A is the resolution that would authorize the signature and return of that MOU.
Thank you, sir. Questions, concerns, comments?
Mayor, just a question. This is the package from months ago, right? This was passed, I guess, in March, April, May, whatever. So I know that Congress still has a fight going on over the new proposals. It's obviously going to be something because they're not even too far apart, $2 billion instead of what this was, $3 billion. Do you anticipate that we might get anything more? You know, maybe we'll have to wait a few weeks to find out, but we might get anything more in the next few months before the year ends that we can count on. I'm asking the manager, I guess.
Well, Councilman, I'll just say this briefly before the manager opines that, these dollars here were CARES dollars from the last time that weren't fully used, and the county, and they've been a great partner in this, were able to put those dollars back into circulation, if you will, back for municipalities to get another, bite at what could be used. So that's why we saw that. Certainly, I think we're all watching what's happening nationally. You are as keen a political person as there is, I think you could probably assess as well as most if we think it's going to be successful or not. I think we all hope that it is. I think we are all as communities hurting and need federal assistance, significantly more federal assistance than has even been offered to date. And hopefully we are all able to put that pressure on our federal elected officials to get something done. But Mr. Stafford, if you have something to add.
I really don't, Mayor. I wish I had a crystal ball or could lend reliable information to this comment. I really don't have anything other than to say I'm certainly hopeful that the township, as well as our county and sister municipalities in Essex County and the state of New Jersey, do receive that funding because it's desperately necessary. We know that at our level, and certainly it's the case in other municipalities, our county, and our state.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, let's do a roll call now.
Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacovelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes, thank you. Next is Resolution R-20-159, which is a resolution authorizing acceptance of the Essex County Division of Senior Services CARES Title III Code COVID-19, and I so move.
Second.
And we see both of these are related. So, Mr. Stafford, would you please offer some comment on B and C, and then we'll move forward.
Certainly. The two are related. The Township's Department of Health and Human Services made application for and received an award letter from the Essex County Division of Senior Services to receive grant funding in the amount of $50,000 to support its senior citizen activities related to COVID-19 from April 1 of 2020 through the end of the year, December 31 of 2020. Item B is a resolution authorizing acceptance of this grant funding and acknowledging the terms and conditions for administering the program. And item C is our normal grant insertion, and the resolution would serve as the township's request to the State of New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, Director of the Division of Local Government Services, to approve the insertion of this grant in the referenced amount as an item of revenue in our 2020 budget and as an appropriation in the same amount. And you should know that this grant does not have a local match requirement with respect to funds.
Thank you, sir. It's been moved and seconded. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Hearing nothing, I will just note, Mr. Stafford, if you could also commend the health department. I know that they have been doing lots of work with many of our nonprofits and other entities to support our seniors and others who, because of COVID, we've often talked about the need to check on everyone's emotional health and well-being as well as otherwise. And I know they've been leaders in doing that work. And I also want to thank our community partners for helping in that as well. So somewhat unrelated, but related. So I wanted to note it. With that, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacovelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes, thank you. Next is Resolution R-20-161, which is a resolution. Oh, no, I almost skipped one there, didn't I? So the next one is Resolution R-20-160, which is the resolution requesting approval of items of revenue appropriation pursuant to N.J.S.A 40A:4-87, which Mr. Stafford did give us a summary of, but I so move.
Second.
Any questions, concerns, or comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Cummings, Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacovelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes, And now we have Resolution R20-161, which is a resolution authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with the Rodgers Group LLC for consulting services, and I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Mr. Stafford, would you like to give a quick summary of this, please?
By all means, item D is a resolution that would authorize the execution of a professional services agreement with the Rodgers Group for its consulting services. More particularly, this agreement would provide for the oversight of the process of our police department maintaining its New Jersey State Association of the Chiefs of Police accreditation and would provide for direct mentoring of personnel regarding same. Cost of this agreement would be $11,220, and the period covered would be September 29, 2020 through December 31 of 2020.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Just, Mr. Mayor, just a question for the manager. This is something we have to do every 3 years. Am I reading it right, or is it every year?
It is a constant process, but the reaccreditation process assessment is every 3 years.
So this consultant helps the police department apply to this New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police. Okay, that's who accredits our police department. Thank you. I just want to clarify that. It's not every year, but it's a 3-year period of work, I guess.
It is a constant process. Accreditation reassessment is done by the Chiefs Association every 3 years.
It has nothing to do with the Attorney General, though, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? If not, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacobelis.
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes, thank you. Next item, Councilwoman Schlager, would you please do the honors?
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas invoices against the Township of Montclair in favor of the following persons for the amounts set opposite their respective names have been received, duly audited, and found correct. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Township of Montclair in the County of Essex that said invoices be and they are hereby ordered paid, and that checks be drawn by the Finance Department to the order of such persons for the amounts respectively and hereinafter stated on the computer printout attached hereto and made a part hereof. This bill is dated October 13th, 2020, for the amount of $9,035,541.45. And I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, or comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please.
Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacobelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes. Thank you very much on those items. Next, we have a number of discussion items. Mr. Stafford, would you please go through all of those items?
Thank you, Mayor. On December 17th of 2019, by resolution R-19-227, the governing body authorized the execution of a professional services agreement with Jason Santarcangelo as special counsel for abandoned and vacant property matters. The not to exceed amount of the agreement was $65,000. And given the amount of work reasonably anticipated for the calendar year, the amount authorized and approved in the 2020 budget for the applicable legal services was $120,000. At present, this professional's work has resulted in billing approaching the referenced not to exceed amount, and to enable this critical work to continue, recommendation is made to, and the resolution in item number 1 would authorize the amending of the not to exceed amount of the firm's professional services agreement for the year by $55,000. Item number 2 is a resolution that would authorize the change to the custodian of the petty cash fund for the office of the township clerk from an individual no longer employed by the township to our current municipal clerk, Ms. Bermudez-Nieves. Similarly, item 3 is a resolution that would authorize the change to the custodian of petty cash fund for the Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs from an individual no longer employed by the township to the current department head, Ms. Camerata. Regarding item number 4, the township, through the Department of Health and Human Services, received a National Environmental Health Association grant and included same in the 2020 budget at the time of its adoption. Given the severe circumstances caused by COVID-19, the department's environmental staff had to pivot to meet the demands of the pandemic response. Although some work and training was completed, all program requirements were unable to be met. Accordingly, the applicable time period for the grant having lapsed, it is necessary to cancel the $2,500 receivable balance and corresponding grant appropriation from the township's current fund balance sheet. Item number 4 is a resolution that would authorize same. Items 5 and 6 are grant insertions, and their resolutions would serve as the township's requests to the State of New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, Director of the Division of Local Government Services, to approve the insertion of the grants in the referenced amounts as items of revenue in the township's budget. Item 5 would be inserted to the 2020 budget. Item 6 would be inserted into the 2019 and 2020 budget, and as appropriation in the same amount in those budgets. Neither of these grants have a local match requirement. Item 5 has to do with a 2020 census grant in the amount of $17,000, and item 6 has to do with a 2019/2020 lead program grant in the amount of $17,950. Item number 7 is a resolution that would authorize the purchase from Buyer Ford of Morristown, New Jersey, through the Cranford Cooperative Pricing Program, 2 new 2020 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles to replace 2 vehicles in the fleet, one of which was deemed a total loss as the result of a motor vehicle accident. And it should be noted that the township was appropriately compensated by the Garden State Municipal Joint Insurance Fund for that vehicle, and the other of which has suffered irreparable multiple mechanical issues and will be auctioned in the normal course. The purchase amount for the 2 vehicles is $69,757.50.
Just a quick question, Mayor, to the manager. It says interceptor vehicles, but are these the Ford Explorer type size, manager, that we have already?
Yes, sir.
Interceptor utility vehicle, I guess to the big Ford Explorers, right? There's no way to reduce
they're a
the
little
size.
That's not recommended by our police department, given the hills that they're constrained to climb, especially in inclement weather.
I understand why we can't become electric, but was there any work on getting them to be hybrid? I know at one time we had Ford vehicles. A lot of those Ford Escapes that we had were hybrid, the smaller ones. We can't use them for police, I guess, but it's so important that we move away from fossil fuels. These large vehicles take a lot of gas. And is there any way we can move towards purchasing of at least hybrids, if not electrics, in the future?
I don't believe that. I think that you're accurate in your statement. I do not believe that that's available for police department related vehicles.
So we got to deal with that on a national level, right? Just another
At least
question.
on a Michigan level.
Yeah, I know it's, I'm glad it's a Ford, as I told you. I have Ford Escape myself. My only concern is always with, maybe you could explain to the public, we go through a cooperative pricing that saves money, and also the access to the dealership is important, that it be close. And I think this is in Morris County area, so that's close. The only Ford dealer in Essex.
You're right.
Right, the only Ford dealer left in Essex is the one I've been dealing with for years, is the Werner Cadby in Fairfield, West Corwell, Fairfield border, way up Bloomfield Avenue. I never see us buy anything from them. Is that because they don't actually participate, manager, in this? You know, I'm not saying that they could bid, I guess, but they don't participate in this cooperative, I guess. Is that true? Because people often ask me, why don't we buy from the local? We used to have a Ford Bloomfield dealer on Bloomfield Avenue, Glen Ridge, Montclair border, where Panera is. We never bought anything from them either.
Well, I certainly can't speak to that, but I can say that I'm not sure if the Essex County Ford dealer bid on the pricing cooperatives offering, but if it did, it obviously did not win. And the goal, obviously, with using a pricing cooperative is to acquire the best product for the needed use at the most efficient cost for the purpose of the taxpayer.
Okay. I'll talk to my dealer. Thank you.
Just a note on that point, I will note, Councilman, while these are not hybrid vehicles and the manager noted our fleet, as I'm sure many residents have seen, I know you're aware, we absolutely have diversified the vehicles and the vehicle types that we have. So when you see a number of vehicles that may be at a construction zone or other areas, you will see they are oftentimes very small, compact cars that provide the safety needed, but don't have the other requirements that are sometimes needed for other purposes. So we have a pretty diversified fleet for the very purpose that you note of fuel efficiency, saving dollars and the like. So just want to note that as well for residents. And thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Stafford.
Regarding number 8, recently the New Jersey State Treasurer, pursuant to N.J.S.A. 40A:11-3C and N.J.S.A. 18A:18A-39B, exercised her authority to adjust bid thresholds for contracting units subject to the local public contracts law. For contracting units that have appointed a qualified purchasing agent pursuant to N.J.S.A. 40A:11-9B and avail themselves of the related higher bid threshold pursuant to N.J.S.A. 40A:11-3 and N.J.S.A. 18A:18A-3, the maximum bid threshold has been increased from $40,000 to $44,000. We as a township have a qualified purchasing agent in Mary Ann Horta. Accordingly, and per the referenced state law and regulation, the resolution in item 8 would authorize the township's increase in the bid threshold, allowing the township to avail itself of same. Regarding item number 9, on March 10 of 2020, the governing body adopted Resolution R-20-044, authorizing the award of a contract to Integrated Builders, LLC for repairs to Edgemont Park Shelter House at the contract price of $41,879. The firm completed the repair project. However, during the project, it found unforeseen circumstances requiring previously uncontemplated but necessary work in the form of damaged wall and flooring behind and under cabinets requiring replacement. Resultantly, recommendation is made to, and the resolution in item 9 would authorize an amending of the contract price with Integrated Builders, LLC in an upward manner by $1,447 for a total contract price of $43,326. Regarding item number 10, on November 18 of 2019, to discourage unnecessary demolition of historic structures, the governing body adopted Ordinance O-19-021, amending Chapter 347, Article 23, Historic Preservation, and Chapter 202, Land Use Procedures of the Township Code. That amending ordinance establishes procedures and criteria for total demolition approval, including review to be conducted by the Historic Preservation Officer and the Historic Preservation Commission of applications for total demolition of a historic structure. There are presently no fees required for that application review. The ordinance in item number 10 would establish a fee of $200 for the application and would also set $350 as an initial escrow deposit against which fees for township professional services required to review and analyze such an application would be drawn. This draft ordinance was reviewed by the Economic Development Committee at its September 17th meeting and was recommended by the committee for consideration by its full governing body. Mayor, that's all I have, though I would remind you that we have a resolution for an executive session listed on the agenda, which we do need to have tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford. Before we do, and reminder that we may come out of executive session and take action. However, I would use this moment to afford my colleagues the opportunity for any comment before we go into executive session. Would anyone like any comments to share with the general public? Let's start today with First Ward Councilman and Deputy Mayor Bill Herlock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given the lateness of the hour, I'm going to pass this evening. Nothing to report, but thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet, sir. I caught it. Yeah, I had a good laugh. Thank you, sir. Second Ward? Councilwoman Flake?
Sorry. No, I'm all good. Thank you very much.
You bet. Third Ward, Councilwoman Price Abrams?
Thank you, Mayor. Sure, I'll avail myself, even if my colleagues are going to consider the needs of everybody else. I did want to, I really do appreciate that you opened the meeting with an acknowledgement in memory of and the contributions of Judy, Weston. And I just hadn't really pulled my thoughts together as yet. So, on behalf of myself and I think collectively to extend our condolences to her husband, Josh. They have been pillars really of this community in so many ways and in so many slices of the community. And I was made aware of something that he had written, and I know it was published in some of the local media that covered some of the contributions she had made. And so some of the big things we know about, whether it's a wing of a hospital or programs like we had talked about, my kids know their name because of the science project one of them participated in at Montclair State. There's so many things, but the kindnesses that Judy extended in her personal way. I just really wanted to acknowledge that in a further way, and thank you again for calling attention. And I know you said we would pay tribute to her in a future time. Other thing is that a couple of events I had the privilege of attending recently, I just wanted to call attention to. And one of them was over at Crane Park, the Northeast, what's their actual name? The Northeast Environmental Coalition, I believe. They had a program about pollinators, and there's an opportunity that everybody can participate by having the right kind of plants in your own yard that will attract the kinds of insects. We're talking about butterflies and bees and others that actually help sustain the food supply that we all benefit from. And it's very granular in a micro way we can participate, but there's more information on their website. I encourage folks to take a look at that and to check out what they have over at Crane Park. We got to see the opening or the process of a Vanguard Theater Company who's building a facility on Bloomfield Avenue, and that's an exciting project that's going to be important for members of the arts community. We talked about how it might even tie in with some of the other nascent art development that we've got. And lastly, I just want to use my opportunity to welcome our new clerk, Angeles Nieves Bermudez. So thank you so much for stepping in, and look forward to working together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now our Fourth Ward Councilman Cummings.
Hey, Mayor, thanks a lot for this opportunity. I want to echo what Lori said about the Westons, true family, that just an example of how individuals give back and their support for the school system. I know when I was on the BOE and started robotics program up in Montclair State, and just their STEM and just their, pure giving to support all kids on every level. Just truly acknowledge her, and I do send condolences to her husband. One of the things I'd like to mention is tomorrow I'm actually going to be participating in a restorative justice community program that will be out, community conversation, in which we'll get a chance to kind of talk about the program and its efforts and some of the things that they're doing. One of the things I want to highlight is they actually registered 30 people, 27 students and 3 adults. They're starting a greenhouse at the high school. So I think, restorative justice is something the school system has, it's been fairly popular the last couple of years. And I think the work that they're doing throughout the community and the schools should be applauded. And finally, I want to give a shout out to Steve Wood. I had a couple of residents from down the Canterbury Park area call me asking about the park and cleanup, and they also responded after the township went down there and did a good job cleaning the park up, particularly the playground area. So I think it just shows that, a lot of times when the residents ask about things or they tell you about things, when we do respond, they do seem to be thankful for it. So I just want to make sure that I thank Steve for that work. That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. And now I'll ask Councilman Yacobelis.
Thanks, Mayor. 2 things on my mind, I'm sure are on everyone's mind. One is the election and the other is the pandemic. So, just a reminder, today is the last day to vote in the state of New Jersey, register to vote in the state of New Jersey. So just want to encourage everyone to make sure to take the time to complete your ballots. You can drop them off at 205 Claremont Avenue in the drop box, or of course through the mail. Please don't let it take too long. Make sure to take the time to vote as soon as possible. And just on the pandemic front, I think there's definitely a lot of anxiety and a lot of uncertainty, and there's certainly no end in sight, as we can see for now. So just a shout out to our frontline workers on the municipal level and those in the hospital, doctors' offices that haven't had a break, and doesn't seem to be a break in sight, just given the trajectory of where we are as a state and country. So just continued thoughts are with the people who are continuing to put their lives at risk. On the schools front, we know parents and teachers and students are all still struggling, obviously, with having to learn from home. So we hope that the situation improves. So hopefully we can bring hybrid and eventually, full-time learning in the schools back. So just my thoughts are with the community. It's a really tumultuous time on a lot of levels, and I just want to encourage participation and civility to one another. Let's be kind to one another. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And now Councilman Russo. Councilman, are you muted?
Sisters, can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
The Barber sisters held a very nice bicycle event a couple of weekends ago, really only a weekend or so ago. Mayor Spiller was there with me and Councilor Cummings, and lots of great people participated from all over just to raise money for Alzheimer's, to fight Alzheimer's, a really big problem. But it was the work of those 2 sisters from Montclair, the Barber sisters, the Barber twins, who I want to remind people, for years, they've been great runners, but at one time, Mickey and Lisa participated in a race. Mickey got a medal, and she, Olympic medal, it was taken away because of some technicality from the whole team. It was a relay team, so it wasn't her individually. And at the time I was mayor, I gave her the medal I got from a Newark race I got from Mayor Gibson, which looked very much like an Olympic medal. But I just want to shout out to those 2 young ladies. We really appreciate the participation in the Olympics by them and all the different things they've done in town, and this recent race and bike ride for Alzheimer's that started at Glenfield Park. So thank you, Mickey and Lisa Barber. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I will just offer briefly as well a few different things. Certainly, as Councilwoman Price Abrams noted with Vanguard, I'll just mention the address. I know we did a lot of times there at the event, but it's 180 Bloomfield Avenue. So that is their new location. We're excited to see them as they build out the space and what that ends up looking like. for the Pollinator Park and the Vanguard event. I know Rick, who's helping to produce this right now, has filmed those. He has them on TV 34 and also our YouTube channel. So if you're looking for some more information there, please be sure to check both of those pieces out on our YouTube channel, on our township's YouTube channel there. We did have a number of business openings. Just want to give certainly on Church Street and Son. They opened up. It was a great little event that they had. So just a shout out to them, and we wish them success, of course. Our film festival is starting up, Montclair Film Festival. So please be sure to check out a number of the films that they have and the excitement that surrounds that. I know that we're all very excited for. And lastly, I will just note from the election standpoint, a couple different things. First, 10 days, heard from the county clerk, 10 days prior to Election Day, the county will send out a postcard. That postcard will indicate the voting location, meaning the polling location. We all know we normally get a ballot. It tells you your polling location. But of course, this year is different. It is done via the drop boxes or through the mail, but they will still have voting locations. We've had a number of residents ask what those will be. Again, 10 days prior, the clerk will mail out, the county clerk will mail out a postcard that says what those spots are. Remember, residents are free then to drop off their ballot at that location, or are free to actually go in and do a provisional vote on the machines at that time. So that information will be shared. An update on it currently, and again, this changes by the minute, but numbers that I heard recently as this morning, I believe, Montclair had returned 9,829 ballots. And I believe the number was about 8,900 ballots were dropped in the drop box. So we see significant use of the drop box, but those ballots are coming back in. We encourage people to make sure you do fill out and return those ballots. And certainly we see the clerk expressed considerable usage of both the mail and drop boxes throughout the county. So good to see people are exercising that right to vote. So with that, I will turn it over to any final comments. Mr. Stafford, do you have anything, Mr. Manager?
I do not, Mayor, not this evening, although I do remind you that we have an executive session.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Our Deputy Manager.
I would just like to echo the condolences to the Weston family. Josh and Judy have been contributors to this township for decades, and their contributions are immeasurable. And Judy will be missed by all involved. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Township Attorney.
Nothing, thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Nothing to report. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. And with that, I have Resolution R2162, which is a resolution authorizing executive session without the public being permitted to attend in accordance with N.J.S.A 10:4-12B. Topics include a matter involving purchase, lease, or acquisition of property with public funds, setting bank rates or investment of public funds, where it could adversely affect public interest if discussed. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will now enter adjourn. Is there
So
a second?
moved.
Second.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Stay well.
I abstained on that. Good
Oh,
night,
well.
everybody. Good night.
Councilman Russo, you're free to stay on for as many hours as you'd like.